Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am here with a whip update. Today is Sunday, January 7th, 2024. Did it. That requires some thought. Here at the beginning of the year, it's always a little tough. But yeah, it's Sunday, which is atypical for me for filming, but nonetheless, here we are. And like I said, I'm here with a whip update. So welcome everybody. Welcome to both my returning viewers as well as anybody who is new here, perhaps checking out my channel for the first time. I hope you find something you like. On this channel, I talk mostly about cross stitch, though sometimes I will talk about books and knitting when it's relevant. Today it's going to be just stitching, and I think I have made the decision that unless I read a ton, I'm only going to be doing my bookish recaps at the at the last video that I do each month. Ideally, I'm filming my cross stitch updates weekly, but we'll just kind of wait and see. I haven't been able to do that in many years, so it's the intention, but we'll see if it actually pans out that way. But my end of month videos I expect will be a little bit longer to encapsulate both my plans for the following month as well as, like I said, bookish recaps and whatnot. And so I think we'll do it that way. So today is going to be just stitching. I have a little bit of administrative things to take care of. Then we're going to talk about the projects I have worked on and the shortest plan segment, I think, in the history of my channel. So let's get into it, and we're going to start with some administrative things, or some not necessarily directly stitching things. And the first thing is a huge hug and thank you from me for all of your beautiful comments on my last video when I discussed the passing of my aunt. Wow, I know that this community is full of really big hearts, but I don't know. I really felt the love in the comment section of my last video. So thank you all so much for that. That was extraordinary. And I just so appreciate it. I haven't responded to any comments. I haven't even done my hearts on all of my comments on my last video, but believe you me, I have read them all at least once, if not multiple times. So thank you. And thank you for those of you who are sharing stories of perhaps your family members who are dealing with certainly memory-related conditions, Alzheimer's and dementia and whatnot. So thank you all for that. Wow, it was a blanket, a really cozy blanket when I was feeling really sad. Still having some bouts of sadness. Some random things are making me weepy, which I think is a part of the grief process. So that's where we're at. But thank you. I mean, I wish that I had bigger words than thank you, but really, thank you. I also have some specific thank yous to send out to both Stephanie and Melissa. Stephanie and Melissa used the link in the description box of my videos, and they bought me a coffee. So thank you both so very much for that. That was awesome. I have talked about the fact that my plans for, if anybody feels that they want to buy me a coffee, support the channel in a more financial way, that those monies are going to go towards some fully finishing and specifically some professional framing. And I am at a point now where I think I can take something to the framer. So stay tuned for that. I would really like to get something framed or handled professionally. So keep an eye out for that. And thank you so much, Stephanie and Melissa. That was awesome. Thank you. Okay, another administrative thing. I very quickly scan the comments of my most recent videos to pull any questions. And so I have kind of two questions. One of them is going to have to wait a little bit. So there's a multitude of questions around the same subject, and that is my stitchy spot, and how I'm organized and whatnot. My stitchy spot is in a little bit of flux right now because it's the new year, and so I've kind of wanted to refresh and reorganize and get it back into some semblance of order. And it's a little bit chaotic right now. So what I'd like to do is a kind of a stitch with me-ish, where hopefully I can conscript my husband into helping film me while I'm in my stitchy spot stitching, so that you can see my setup and how my stand and my frame work together. And then also just so that you guys have an idea of what my stitchy spot is like, so that maybe if you are seeking ideas for your own stitchy spots. So, but that's gotta have to wait until I can get reorganized in there. So hopefully I can get that filmed, reorganized and filmed for you all here shortly. The other question that I had was, in my plans video, I showed my Stitchy calendar. It is a digital Stitchy calendar. It's essentially like, it's kind of like a book of days, where I've got the whole month listed out, and then I stick in there what I work on each day. So I'm going to insert here my January Stitchy calendar page, my January 2024 Stitchy calendar page, so that you can see what I'm talking about. But the question that I was asked was, where did I get that? So it is Numbers. It's Mac Numbers, which is the Mac equivalent of Excel. It's just a combination of spreadsheets. And Mac Numbers has a little bit more polished aesthetics than perhaps Microsoft Excel does. So it gives me the ability to do things like this. But it's just a generic calendar in my spreadsheet program, that's the word I was looking for, with a table on the right side so that I can list my WIP birthdays. So that's really all it is. It's just the calendar function in my spreadsheet program. So that's where I get that from. And so that's how I do that. Okay, so that takes care of, I think, all of the administrative things. And so we're going to head into the works in progress and talk about the projects I have worked on in the last week. So I filmed on New Year's Day on January 1st, and the video went up fairly late, I think, on New Year's Day. But really quickly here, I'm going to show you the project that I was working that day, because I did work a little bit more on it. It lives in this fantastic project bag. This is by Stitch and Button, Vicky over at Stitch and Button. Her Facebook group is always linked in the description box below, because a good portion of my bags come from her. Okay, so as previously mentioned, I was working on January by the Cricut Collection on the 1st. It was this project's whipped birthday, and I was working on it for various and sundry reasons. WIPGO, my focus on a finished WIPGO, etc., etc. So that's what I was working on. I'm not going to do any before and afters for this piece because it will come back later in the month for a little bit more progress. But I did stitch a little bit more since that video. This is a 28 count ice blue cashel linen from Zweigart, just a gorgeous light blue. And I'm gonna fold up here because this is where I was working. So when last we spoke, I was part the way through the R here, and so I've continued down the front tail of the R a little bit. This is a project where my threads, I'll show you this here, are in flossaway bags, and I have a length of each color pulled. And a lot of these colors are empty. So that's why you see a whole bunch of unfinished things throughout the whole piece, actually. This clock over here is missing a bunch of things. There's a lot of work left to do in these trees here. My snowman needs his legs and skates. There's a lot of little itty bitty details that I need to replenish my threads for this project before I can get those accomplished. So anyway, so I'm focusing on this section over here where I've got some big block stitching. So what I've kind of decided is that for my focus on a finished WIPGO board, my projects are going to get at least 1,500 stitches Not necessarily in the month that they're called, because like I have said so many times, full coverage is the focus, and so if these things get bumped or postponed, that's okay. But my intention is to, I can't mark the block complete on my focus on a finished whip go board until I do at least 1,500 stitches or get the finish. This is a piece that will be finished this year because it is in my daily 30 monthly, like year-long event. So this one is going to get continual work probably until it's done, probably monthly effort. But I would like to get in another 1,000 stitches on it this month if it works out. So you will probably see this again. I really don't have a whole ton left to do here, do I? Nope. And so there is that. As I said, no before and afters for this one because I'm kind of mid-rotation on it. Okay, so we get to January 2nd. And I have talked in several different places that I was going to be starting Santa's House, and I think I took it to the other room. I was going to be starting Santa's House by Cottage Garden Samplings, the first in the Fabulous Houses series, on January 2nd. It was going to be my New Year, New Start, a day late for reasons. So, after I did my plans video, I was working on getting that project kitted up. And it calls for 2 classic colorworks. And I don't have a large stash of classic colorworks, and I think that these are fairly new colors. So I tried to do some conversions. I pulled what Vinny of Cottage Garden Samplings had picked as the DMC alternatives, and then I tried to convert those to Gentle Arts or Color and Cotton, and I wasn't satisfied with that. So I got some money for Christmas, and so I placed an order for those threads. And they were not going to be here in time to start it on the 2nd. It just wasn't going to be here in time. So then I was like, well, maybe I could pivot my new start, but I wasn't really prepared to do that yet. So when I got up on the 2nd, rather than continue on with January, I decided to pull out one of my small goal monthly focus piece. I decided to pull one of those. And I decided to go with one that I was really excited about, one that I was chomping at the bit to get back to. And so that lives in this project bag here, also by Stitch and Button. When I show you these bags, she probably doesn't have these in stock, but it's worthwhile to be a part of her Facebook group because when she does bag uploads, then you have access to them. And she usually puts up, most times, like 2 or 3 of each bag, at least. So in here lives my Ragnarok by Long Dog Samplers. And I love this piece. This fabric is fantastic. I really love it for this piece. The fabric is a 40 count Newcastle linen in Sweeney Red by Dames of the Needle. And here is the progress that I made. I am stitching this using Anchor Black. One of the questions that I got was, why do you hate DMC 310? And I don't hate DMC 310. In my experience, though, Anchor Black oftentimes, and I won't say always because like everything, there's variations, but Anchor Black in the skein is oftentimes a little bit fuzzier than DMC 310. DMC 310 is a fairly smooth thread. And because to get that deep, dark, true black color, the threads feel a little thin. And so I get the sense that Anchor being a little bit fuzzier, the coverage is a little bit better. Your mileage may vary. Some people say they can't notice a difference between the two. Some people don't like the extra fuzzy nature of the Anchor Black. Anchor Black is certainly, especially here in the States, not very easy to get a hold of. You have to order it in for the most part. But me personally, I have used Anchor Black pretty consistently over the years, and I just really like the coverage better than DMC 310. So that's why I do that. And that's what this one is in DMC. Here I go. This one is in Anchor 403, Anchor Black. Now, I know that DMC recently acquired Anchor, so we'll see what that does. I might, you know, we might all be using the same thread before too long. So anyway, my small monthly goal for this piece is 500 stitches a month. I would just want to keep making some regular progress. 6,000 stitches at a baseline on this piece won't get me very far. I think that's 10% of the pattern. So it won't get me very far, but just some regular progress on a long dog, I'm here for that. So I worked on this on the 2nd, and I actually got about 850 stitches. 500 stitches in a month is fairly easy for me to accomplish on this piece. One color, a 2 foot length gets me about 100 stitches. Like, let's go. So, so that is my progress on Ragnarok. And this is a piece we will fortunately see every month for the year. I had a really hard time putting it down after just one day. But anyway, what I'm kind of doing here is working the first page, and then I'll move over to page 2. I'm already kind of into page 2 here, but I'm just kind of working down a little bit. I'm not sticking to any hard page lines, but that's kind of the aim. Oh, I love this one. Love it a lot. When I have a list of projects that I'm trying to work on each month, I am often faced with decision fatigue. I have a hard time choosing. As we've discussed, true SWEWE is not for me. I need somebody to tell me what to do. I don't know why, but that's what I need. So I have my other 4 small monthly goal pieces. I have my full coverage whip go. I have my focus on a finish whip go, and I have personal sunshine. And those are all of the things that I am trying to accomplish this month. So what I decided to do was to try to blend some SWEWE, but also with some more structure. So I created a tiny decisions wheel with those categories: small monthly goals, personal sunshine, focus on a finish whip go, and full coverage whip go. Is that all the things? Yeah. So I put those 4 things in a wheel, and then spin the wheel when I get to the end of a rotation or the end of a goal on something. And then from those categories, choose which one I feel like working on. So I actually did that when I spun the wheel. I spun the wheel before Ragnarok. So it's spun small monthly goals, and then I have 5 of those each month. I chose Ragnarok because I was just in the mood to work on it. So finish that up, spin the wheel again, non-repeating selections, and weighted heavier for the full coverage things. So after Ragnarok, it pulled full coverage whip go. And so of my 2 full coverage whip go pieces, I decided to work on Quick Stitch Day and Night. This is by Heaven and Earth Designs. Artist is Nadia Strelkina. My goal for this piece was 2,700 stitches. So I guesstimated that I would get this 2,700 stitches done in about 5 days. Some days a little bit more than 500 stitches, you know, balancing out to about 5 days. So let me show you the piece. This is a 25 count Easy Grid Lugana from Zweigart. I'm stitching 1 over 1 full cross. This one isn't huge. I mean, it's big. All Heaven and Earth designs are big, even the minis. But like of my HAEDs, this one's not so big. This one's only 210,000 stitches. Only, she says. So I put this on the frame and I start stitching, and I'm really enjoying it, and the colors are flowing beautifully, and I'm having lots of fun building these buildings, and I did 3,000 stitches in 3 days. Yeah. So averaged 1,000 stitches a day, but I had a really huge stitching day on Friday. I told my husband, I said, I just really want to have a good stitching day if it works out. And he said, all right, let's see what we can do. And so I settled in and I got some good stitches in on Friday. And this zoomed because I'm just having so much fun with it. I love these colors. And I love this style. I love Nadia Strelkina's art. This is good. It's really, really good. So my 2,700 stitches would have been this block, but by the time I finished that block, I was like, well, why don't I just finish the diagonal? Because finishing the diagonal gets me to the bottom of the page. And then I almost came up here and got started again and just stuck with it to the page finish. But I decided to try to save some of this momentum for when I need it. I expect that by July or August, I'm going to need just some easy to reach goals like this one. So I decided to put it away, continue with the other projects that I need to work on this month, and come back to this when it gets called again. Oh, I love this. I had a blast working on it, and it was a lot of fun. This piece I picked for By the Numbers 2000 this month. And what else did I work on it for? Daily 30 things. Yeah. So anyway, 3,000 stitches, and that is Quick Stitch Day and Night. Because I finished that goal like 2.5 days early, I don't want to say that I felt like I had all the time in the world, but I did feel a little bit more relaxed with between the goals that I have for this month and the time I have available to me. So I added a new option to my Tiny Decisions wheel. And my Tiny Decisions wheel pulled said new option of New Start. So I was able to have my New Year New Start. It was not my Santa's house because my Santa's house threads were scheduled to be delivered on Friday. They went to the wrong post office, and instead of said post office getting it to my post office, they sent it back to the hub, which makes sense, but is nonetheless frustrating. So I'm hoping I'm going to have those threads by Tuesday, but we'll just kind of wait and see. In the meantime, I had a plan to start this as well, if it worked out. And so I decided to indeed start Grief Knows No Bounds. By collectively, they are referred to as the Stitchers for Peace Initiative, but it is a collaborative effort between Marumi Designs, Craft DMs, Aya Rosen, Yasmin's Made with Love, and Bendy Stitchy Designs. And so collectively they came together to create this beautiful design centered around a poem from, I believe, the 13th or 14th century that discusses how grief knows no bounds, both time and also space. I think that based on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, we are all feeling a large sense of grief. Since October 7th. I know I have spoken about it intermittently over the last couple of months. So I love this piece, and so opportunity was here, and so I decided to start it. So let me show you that. I started this yesterday, and I am still working on it here today. I'm probably going to keep working on it for the rest of the day and then move on as of tomorrow. So this fabric is 40 count Newcastle linen in Haystack by Color and Cotton. It's very much a cream vibe. It's very barely mottled. It's super soft and kind of a buttery neutral color. But I really like it. So This is where I am up to. I have started on the river border, and then I started at the top line of text is the first line from the poem, Grief Knows No Bounds, in Farsi. And then around the outside, they are Farsi, Arabic, Hebrew, and English. A line for each from that poem. It's just fantastic. With the exception of English, all of the text here is read from right to left. And so I wanted to stitch this right to left, but I just, for placement's sake, just to be sure I was in the right spot, I am stitching it left to right. And that's okay, I guess. It's not ideal perhaps, but it's okay. So this is gorgeous. It is charted in DMC. It is Pattern Keeper compatible. I say that with a note of hesitation in my voice because there is a tilt, a slant to the pattern, and so the right side of the pages get a little they get a little interesting in Pattern Keeper. It's totally fine, it's totally workable, but it does require a little bit of brain on the right side because the symbols shift in an upwards angle a little bit. So just something to be mindful of. When I installed it into Pattern Keeper, I installed the black and white version of the chart because when you get the chart, and we'll talk about the getting of the chart in just a second, you get both a color and a black and white version. And so that's what happened with the black and white version. Charted in DMC, I am of course using the called for DMC with the exception of black. I am using Inker Black for the reasons aforementioned. So getting the chart. In order to receive a copy of this chart for yourself, I would head over to the Instagram pages of those that I mentioned. There they have 3 organizations for which to send a donation to, and once you forward the receipt of said donation to one of the designers, one of the contributors, they will then send you the chart. So yes, very grateful to those folks for putting this together and for their efforts and for sharing their art with us. So that is Grief Knows No Bounds, and like I said, I'm going to be working on that through the rest of today, and then hopefully fairly regularly that will come back. Since that is what I'm currently working on, let's head into some plans really quickly. Super quick, super fast plan segment. The next project that I'm going to work on, I have already spun the wheel and it pulled the project in this project bag. This is by the Brass Button, and in here lives my personal sunshine. So I just showed this in my last video, but just for consistency's sake, I'll show it here again. This is Heaven and Earth Designs. Artist is Jeremiah Kettner. Since Jeremiah Kettner is no longer with HAED, this is out of print. This is I've broken my remaining stitches up by 12 to see the finish of this piece by the end of the year. And so this is my starting point. I'm starting down here with page 13. And that's about 3,500 stitches left, I think, of that page. And then my remaining 2,000 will go into page 4 up here. So this is 25 count antique white Lugana, just plain Lugana. It's not pre-gridded. 1/1 full cross, called for DMC, Anchor Black instead of DMC 310. And what I'm thinking is my plan here is I'm going to aim for 5 days this time, because what I think may happen is that I'm going to get bogged down by 10 days straight. I think that 10 days straight, or however long it takes, 5,500 stitches straight, I think I may get bogged down by that. Maybe not now, but certainly at other points in the year, I can foresee that happening. So I'm going to aim for 5 days and then reassess at that point. If I feel like moving on, switching projects for a little bit before I come back to this, I can do that. Or if I feel like continuing on, then I will do that. But just to give myself a little bit of leniency in the event that I feel bogged down by the large task. So I'm going to aim for 5 days at the start, and then we'll reassess at that point. So when I film next weekend, I can report back and let you know how it goes. So that is Personal Sunshine. Speaking of next weekend, ideally, I'd like to get back to filming on Fridays, because it just works out nicely to have the rest of the weekend to do with otherwise. However, this next Friday, January 12th, is my daughter's 3rd birthday. And her birthday party isn't, it's a week later, but I'm not going to film next Friday. So I'll be here on Saturday, probably. If the only project that I work on between now and Saturday is Personal Sunshine and whatever else I get done on Grief Knows No Bounds today, if those are the only 2 things I work on between now and Saturday, then I'm probably not going to film next week. Only because these videos weekly are short enough as they are, and if I'm only doing 2 projects, that's just not going to work for me. So my plan is to film when I have a week and at least like 3 or 4 projects to share with you, just to keep things interesting. So we'll see. If I just keep going on Personal Sunshine because I feel like it, then that works too. And then I'll just film the next weekend. We'll just go an extra week. So that's kind of the plan there. If you want regular updates, I am on Instagram at Jessie Does Stuff. Just to keep it shorter, I took out the Marie, so it's Jessie Does Stuff on Instagram. So you can see regular updates there. So I'm looking around, and that's all I've got to share with you today. No haul or anything like that. So I'm gonna head off. Happy stitching, everybody. As always, be kind. Thank you all so much for your continued support of me and my channel. Thank you once again for your absolutely lovely comments on my last video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.